for traits, I don't know.
She's been on phenomenal form all year.
It's her boy, she's brought her dog. I'm not sure if I can show you the dog.
Oh gosh, I think it was.
He is the most incredible horse. That's why you're here. Wow. Good job.
Welcome to Luhmühlen Late. It is day 2 of our nightly chat show from Luhmühlen, Germany's only 5-star horse trials, of course in the north of Germany in the beautiful Lüneburger Heide. Now there are 2 competitions running here. There's the German National Championships, which is the 4-star, and it is so hotly contested, particularly of course with all eyes on the European Championships this summer. And then there is the 5-star, as I say, Germany's only 5-star horse trials. We're going to be mostly looking at the 5-star here on Luhmühlen Late with a little bit of 4-star sprinkled in, and we've got lots coming up for you tonight. We've got our ride of the day where Spencer Sturmey, our commentator, gives away some Dubarry socks and some champagne to the rider that he thinks gave the nicest and the most beautiful ride of the day. We've got dog of the day, we've got Luhmühlen legends with Mark Phillips, and plenty more, including looking ahead to the cross-country course. But let's talk about the competition, because the 5-star now has a new leader. Yesterday it was Pippa Funnell. Today it is Laura Collett. She is the dressage leader after 2 days of dressage here at Luhmühlen on London 52, her badminton winner. She absolutely nailed it in there. She wowed the judges. Let's hear what she had to say after her test.
Laura, somebody just said to me, this is like the British Championships. I mean, you're top of the leaderboard, but what an amazing test and what a great Luhmühlen for Britain so far.
Oh yeah, he was just incredible. He's got so good at that first phase now, but he was a bit on edge, but that kind of made it just that bit special. It was the right side of on edge, and yeah, it was just a joy to ride in there.
What are your highlights from that test?
Oh, it's just everything, to be honest. Just the way he really stayed with me, just really let me ride every move and just enjoy it, really.
Now, you've come close to winning Luhmühlen before. Obviously, you've done amazing things with London, including winning badminton, but obviously you couldn't do this year. So, how, what are your feelings about Luhmühlen, and how good is he feeling for tomorrow's cross country?
Touch wood, he feels on great form. Kind of, after the way badminton turned out, felt like his overreach was a blessing in disguise. So as soon as that decision was made, it was all systems go for coming here. Feel like we have a bit of a score to settle with Luhmühlen, as the last time we were here we ended up upside down in the water, a couple of fences from the end. So fingers crossed we can put things straight and add another 5-star title to his CV.
I was just saying to Chris Bartle that watching you ride, you're so good on the flat, and yet when you consider that you're also helping people train race horses, and you're obviously brilliant in show jumping and the cross country as well, you're the perfect all-rounder. How naturally does that all come to you? Do you like doing the flat work? Because you are bloody good at it.
I think anyone would enjoy doing flat work on a horse like him. Yeah, I do enjoy it on a horse that can go and do things like that. But yeah, I think it's all related at the end of the day. Unless they're good on the flat, they're not going to be easy to ride to a fence. And I guess being a bit of a perfectionist means that you like doing as good a test as you can, and like starting on a good score and trying to win it from the front rather than trying to claw it back.
And 2 horses. Okay, I know it's still 2 and not like Pippa's only got the 1. She really does feel like you're on holiday. She's on holiday. But are you enjoying this experience of not having to rush about and do all the other jobs you normally do?
Yeah, definitely. A couple of weeks ago at Bicton I had 5 there, 4 in the 4-star short and 1 in the 2 long, and felt like it was a whirlwind, which in a funny way I actually quite enjoy, because you don't have too much time to overthink or start stressing about anything. It's just like bang, bang, bang. But yeah, just like being here with 2 super horses at a 5-star, you have to enjoy moments like this. It's so difficult to get them to this level. So yeah, just appreciating having the opportunity to be here and hopefully do a good job.
And what do you think about the course?
Yeah, the course is beautifully built, as it always is here. It's very twisty. The riders are going to have to be very much on their A game from start to finish. There's a lot of places to have a cheeky little run by, but yeah, I think the time will be very, very influential, and just going to have to be on it from start to finish, and it's going to feel like a roller coaster, but hopefully a good one.
So a very happy Laura Collett there, and so she should be. What a beautiful test on that wonderful horse, London 52. She's on 20.3 penalty points. Second place, as I said, is Pippa Funnel on Grafton Street, and she's 23.1. And then Kitty King with Vendredi Beats is on 26.8. And someone said to me earlier, it's like a British Championships, the 5-star here at Luhmühlen. Well, let's get some opinion then from the former German eventing national performance director Hans Melzer, who joins me in the studio. Hans, thank you for coming to Luhmühlen Lace. Just before we talk about you, do you mind if we just talk about the Brits for a moment? Because that was a good test, wasn't it?
I think it's fantastic how many combinations you have in Great Britain who can perform on this level. We have not so many riders, not so many horses, but I must say this year is unbelievable what Chris produced here with all these super pairs and super riders. And I think Luhmühlen is very proud to have your Brits here, because I think we have enough starters and we have a championship starter field. I think this is very good.
Yeah, now of course you mentioned Chris Bartle. Well, you were with Chris for so long as that incredibly successful duo looking after the German team. How many years were you two working together, and can you remember how many titles that you two won?
No,
together?
not titles, but we worked 16 years together, and I'm in the end 21 years, because when Chris left back to England, the rest of the years I was by myself as a team trainer. But it was a super time, and I think we have not as many riders in Germany, or not many combinations, but in the end, when you have 3 top results at the championship, then you are good enough, and that's what we had in the very successful area. When we had, you need 3 results, and then you are good enough. But in the moment, I think England can send 10 teams to a championship, and they're all good enough to win a medal.
When I talked to Chris and Dickie Waygood, who obviously is doing the equivalent of your job for Britain. I talked to them a lot about their success and why they work so well together. Why did you and Chris work so well together with the Germans?
Yeah, I think it was a different situation. When Chris came and we started here in Germany, we were really down. We were really, I remember 2002, Jerez, we had no horse show jumping. So we started as losers. But then we built it up, and this was very nice to have this time.
And how did you do that? How did you build it up?
Yeah, how we build it up. We still have these 3 riders here. We are having in the 5-star. We have this 2002. We started with a perspective group in Warndorf, talented young riders in one place together, training, living together. And we had all these riders like Julia Krajewski, like Sandra Auffahrt, Frank Andreas Osthold. We all had these young riders here together. Michael Jung we wanted, but he wanted to stay home, but it was good enough that when he was staying home, he did a good job. And then it was building up, and I think a good thing for German riders was the World Cup series. When this started, because we had not so many competitions here in Germany, and there were World Cup series here on the continent, everywhere in Poland, in France, in Belgium, Sweden, and they had a lot of chance to compete, to get more experience, and this was, I think, one. And in the end, we must say, the change of the format helped us a lot.
Oh, what? Because the horses, you didn't have maybe so much thoroughbred horses that didn't have to do the long.
Yeah, we have a lot of good trainers here in Germany for dressage and jumping. And the new format helped the horses. You had not this long format situation. You could start many more competitions in the year, and this helped a lot. And then we had some very good years with a lot of success.
You did. Now, what was your favourite? I mean, it's like asking for a favourite child, but were there any? I mean, I'm wondering if Hong Kong was one of your favourites.
No.
Okay.
That was one. The best Olympic I lived in London.
London
was absolutely fantastic.
Why was that?
Yeah, also the situation between Greenwich Park, in the middle of London, you walked the cross-country course and looked at all the big houses in the city, and we were very successful. Michael won Sandra was third. We won the team, and then in the country, I said always, to win in the country where the eventing comes from is the most important thing. And this was for me was London the best ever championship which I was as trainer was London.
What's your favourite discipline of the three?
I like the most cross-country training. I learned a lot from Chris, and I'm still working with Sandra and with Ingrid together still now as a private trainer. And I like cross-country riding, and because we have a lot of good trainers for dressage and show jumping, but I love to do cross-country training.
How hard was it for you to hand that job over and say, okay, I'm going to retire? How hard was that for you?
I think during the time when Chris and me worked together, we were talking about Peter Thomsen. We always was, because normally we planned after Rio to retire.
Well, both of you?
Yeah, normally. But Chris, I understand him, going back to his home country with all these many top riders, top horses. And then we were speaking about Peter. And then I worked 1 year with Peter together. 21, he was with us in Tokyo, in Avanche. And this was our favorite. And so it was no problem for me to let it go. I watch it from the outside. But I think, and I'm happy that he won with the team in Bratoni, which is good when you start as a team trainer and you have such a success, and therefore I was very happy.
Because I was thinking it's a bit like Alex Ferguson planning his succession at Manchester United, and obviously it didn't work out for David Moyes when he took over. It's very difficult taking over from someone who's been as successful as you. How much do you miss it?
No, I don't miss it so very much because I'm here I live in Luhmühlen. We do a lot of normal, smaller events here, and I still go with Ingrid and Sandra to some competitions, so I'm also on the top level. But I like to have in the end, I have not to travel so much, and I have not to decide who is in the team. I can watch it now from the outside, which is very nice.
And I'm wondering if you're enjoying not having to be a politician anymore.
No.
Okay, I haven't got to be nice
private.
to everyone. I can do what I like. Is that the case?
Yes, absolutely.
Just finally, how do you see eventing? I mean, later on in the show, we're going to hear from. I've got a little section called Luhmühlen Legends. We're talking to Mark Phillips, and he talks about how he's worried about the sport. What do you think? How do you think? What shape is it in Germany and globally?
Yeah, I think I'm hope that it will stay Olympic discipline in the future. I say always it's a little bit of politician. We have next year it's in France, in Paris, then it's in America, Los Angeles, and it's in Brisbane, and these are all horsey countries. So I hope still that the influence of the country where the Olympics take place will have an influence for our sport, because America or also Australia are very, very popular in eventing, and I think therefore, but it will be difficult. It will be difficult in the end. We see the changes with only 3 riders in the team, new dressage test, and But in the end, it's important to stay there, and
The sport needs the Olympics.
Absolutely, because when you are an Olympic sport, I know it from Germany, you get more help from the national federation, for trainers, for competitions, for training for the riders. And when we are not Olympic, it will be difficult, because I think not for England, because badminton and Burley are special.
But it's still the pinnacle. The Olympics is still the pinnacle. It's not like golf or tennis where they have their majors and Grand Slams. Sport, we need this.
Yeah, we definitely need it.
Fingers crossed. Hans Melzer, thank you so much for joining us on Luhmühlen.
Thank you to
Good
be
luck
here.
to all the riders this weekend from Germany.
Thank you very much.
We're going to move on now to the cross country, because of course the cross country day is tomorrow on Saturday here in Luhmühlen. The course designer Mike Etherington Smith has done a wonderful job as always with this year's course, and I caught up with him a little bit earlier to find out about this year's track. Go Mike.
Okay, here we are, Luhmühlen 2023, middle of June. Been a heat wave here, and so but we're all set. We're ready to rock and roll tomorrow. The course this year, I've turned it round. It's 11 minutes. We've got 45 jumping efforts. Turn it round the other way. Changed the questions as a consequence of that. And all the usual features are here. We've got 3 water fences. We've got a few ups and downs and bumps, but essentially it's a flat venue to all intents and purposes. One thing we've done this year hugely is work massively on the ground, because as with the rest of Europe it's been very dry, but the guys have done a fantastic job in preparing the ground. It's really good sandy ground. There's been lots and lots of water on it. We've had verti drains and all sorts of stuff. But anyway, onto the course. The course starts and finishes in the same place as always. I turned it round, trying to give it a slightly different flavour this time, with all sorts of questions. The early fences obviously get them going, and then the first combination comes at fence 5. People have asked me if I've thought about the fact that we've got a lot of people come from Badminton who sort of maybe didn't have the best of times there, or didn't get around for whatever reason. And so, but essentially we lock into this back in November of last year, so that doesn't affect anything that I'm doing here. So the first combination comes at fence 5, and then the real meat of the track starts around about fence 9, when we get into a couple of curving corners on curving 3 strides. Then back in, and I suppose the first major challenge, significant challenge, is the Luhmühlen water up the far end, where there's a huge drop in, and then there's 3 strides to quite a big corner in the middle of the water, then 4 strides going left to combination. As with all these more difficult fences, I've got a series of options if they want to do it, or if they end up in a heap jumping into the water, they can get out of jail and go long, should they so choose. But for me, one of the really important things is that horses grow and benefit as they go around. I want the horses to learn as they go and benefit from the experience. Same with the riders. They'll learn a little bit more about each other, horse and rider combinations. And that for me is the real place where you'll find out how good your horse is on the day. We then go on, some fences to re-establish a bit of confidence if they've got a little bit unsettled. But it is 5-star I'm talking about at the moment. And so, the intensity is that much greater, the questions are much more difficult than other levels. So we then come back in, up the Welland Barn step this time, we come down it for the last couple of years, new question up there. Then we come to the Messmer water. Feature fence here has been here for a long, long time. It's a mix of accuracy, braveness, athleticism on the part of the horse. And, it's real atmosphere. There are lots and lots of people around this particular fence, and it's a real cauldron. It's fantastic. They come out of the woods, suddenly they're here, which is great. Then back around, they make their way to the main arena. And whereas it's not ideal to change surfaces, go from grass to all weather surfaces, it's important to put the horses in front of the spectators. And again, the arena is a big atmosphere. There's sponsored tents, there's all sorts of stuff. And one of the big differences between a regular event and going to a 5-star or big competition like this is the horses. You have to be careful with how the course can affect them mentally. Let's put it that way. It's only when you actually make that step up and horses see lots of spectators, a bit of atmosphere and everything else. Some horses it can affect, a lot of them it doesn't affect at all. But again, it's one of the things you have to be mindful of as a course designer. Through the main arena, tricky fences in there. I've placed with some water trays on the fences. It's the first time I've ever done it. Hopefully it'll work, so we'll find out tomorrow. And then back up, we head up to the Longines water, where we're sort of six from home. Again, it's a decent question. You jump a roll top and then into the water. I got 2 fairly fierce angles. They're brushes, one in the water and then another one 2 strides after it. Then there's a long gallop through the trees, which from a designer's point of view is pretty dull, but it's beautiful to ride. But I have to be mindful that actually the riders can make up time there. And then they come back out into view, and they've got 4 fences to go. They're at the end of the track, so I have to be careful and recognise that some of the horses are a little bit tired here. But as always, you've got to keep them jumping, keep them interested, so the fences don't get any smaller. But I sort of just be conscious of the fact I've got to bring them home, keep them interested, so they don't just disregard the fences. One of the things, as always, I've done is use mim clips. A lot of fences, we've got quite a lot of them out there, and it's quite a useful tool from a course designer's point of view. I shouldn't say this probably because the riders will work it all out. But actually, if you put a couple of fences, as I've done here, a couple of oxers on mim clips, rather than, for example, a couple of brushes, the riders have to keep enough gas in the tank and they have to respect them. Because if they just come floating down to these things and think, well, I'll just pop over them and disregard them, it's very easy to get 11 penalties for activating one of these MIM systems. So it's quite a useful tool for course designers to have, and the tools that we have in our tool chest are actually getting fewer, and the guys are getting much better as they go on. So that's a quick whiz around the track. It's 11 minutes. The time will be gettable, but what I try to do is make them have to change gear a little bit, keep them slower for longer where I can, but recognising also that some of the guys are pretty good and pretty nimble and pretty quick. So hopefully they'll have a good time and come home well and benefiting from the experience.
Well, that's what course designer Mike Etherington-Smith had to say about his course for this year's 5-star at Luhmühlen. Well, what about the riders? Well, our commentator Spencer Sturmey caught up with Kitty King, of course, who is in third place at the moment with Vendredi Biat, to look at one of the water complexes, the Mesmer Teich, in more detail.
Kitty, we're here at the Mesmer Water, 16, 17A, B and C. Going in the opposite direction, you were here in 2019 for the European Championships with Froggy. Down the hill, all of a sudden, it's all here. Left or right the tree?
I'm actually going to go this right-hand side of the tree because I think after you've had such a long gallop, after a very twisty start, they're kind of, I think mine particularly will think, oh, I'm off straight lines and off I go. So I actually want to come round this way because it will break him up a little bit in his canter, get a little bit of control back into him. And I'm actually going to come quite close to this tree and jump the trachena a little bit right to left, so I can get a better curve back to the skiddy brush in and hopefully get there on a short 6 strides rather than the 5 and a half.
5 in a shuffle. And this plays its part to the water, doesn't it? You've got to get a good jump here and them feeling confident. You don't want them to come down here and suddenly start sucking back on you.
No, but equally I'm quite mindful with mine. I don't want to get a big flyer of a jump because then he'll be too free to the skinny and then you suddenly see the water. And that's when things can all go wrong. So actually with mine, he's a brave horse and good at the ditches and things. So I want to get a bit of a round and more of a pop jump with him. So I've got the control to stay out on my line, have a good punchy canter, so I can really kind of be sat there waiting for the arrowhead to kind of come to me, keep my body up and let him shuffle and play with his footwork, pop in, and then I will be kind of staying out on a nice curve to get up to the bank, to the log at the top.
And putting the curve in, I suppose, takes away that element of risk because you've got then that time, if anything does go wrong, he puts in a big jump here, you've got the time to then reevaluate.
And it just makes it a little bit less risky because now they've moved on. You can see, if you come too much in a straight line, you'll be kind of on a bit of an angle to that skinny, which it just brings more risk into it. And yes, you want to save time, because it's going to be tough to get the time here because it's so twisty, but this is a point where I don't want to be taking risks. There are other places where you can shave a few seconds rather than here.
Absolutely. Well, let's walk that line. Let's see what you're going on about here, because it's a big fence. You've got to jump that trachena with enough power. Let's just see where you're going to go, what line you're going to ride on.
So I'm thinking of coming just obviously around the edge of that tree, jumping a little bit, as I say, right to left. So I then want to come out here, and actually I don't want to be looking, I'll be looking to the arrowhead, but I'm going to keep him out on the line and not let him shave in too early. So it's going to be quite a tight 6, a bit more of a show jumpy 6. Which I think will help because you want them to get to the base of this arrowhead, so you've got the control of them rather than them stand off and then they can easily just jump to one side of the flag or the other. I'll be keeping my hands quite wide, so I've got them in quite a kind of tunnel between my hand and leg, and just keeping my body up and back and waiting for him to take off and not get ahead of him.
And we can see on the flags here, we've got a black flag alternative, which is quite a long way away from here. We've got the 4-star jump here. You've got to make sure they're concentrating all the time on exactly what they're doing. That fence is far enough away, but there is a black flag alternative if you need to take it.
Yeah, if it all goes wrong or they haven't jumped the first water very well and you're a bit worried about this, you can jump the trachena and then it is miles round, so you'd need to gallop all the way round. And there's a little house right at the very end of the water behind the trees. And then you come back through the water and jump a little kind of bridge back this way, then all the way around the island to the 4-star shoulder brush coming out. So it's a really time-consuming trip round.
It really is.
I think everyone's plan A will be.
Well, let's kick on. Let's go through we're not going to walk through the water. We're not going to get wet. So let's go splash through the water. We're going to quickly make our way through. But water, it always causes its own amount of trouble, doesn't it? With the splash and the effects of the water, the drag and everything else. Your plan A is just to keep going straight and to keep him focused. He's a very bold horse, we know. But What do you do anything different when you're going from dry to wet to dry again? Like we've got this island fence in the middle. We're going to scoot across. So stay with us, Mark, if you can. But going from the water back onto an island, and then with this log and another arrowhead coming up, it's discombobulating, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's the lips more than the water for me.
Yeah.
And so I think with the water, as long as you kind of keep the connection with your leg, nice support with the rein, they can find their way through. But it's the lips, you never quite know how they're going to come up them or down them. Some of them kind of will run straight into the lip, others will kind of jump or do a shuffle, others will just float up there as though it's not even there, and you just can never quite tell what they're going to do. And it's the same here, so you jump the log, and then you've got a stride kind of on the flat really, and then you've got the lip down before the skinny, and it walks on 3, but they might jump off that like a step, or they might
dribble down. You just don't know.
You don't know. So again, you've got to be sat kind of slightly wide, hands sat behind them, leg on, and not get ahead of them, and let them find their footwork and find their way over it, and just be behind them and not assuming and going for that stride and getting ahead and them then running out.
And modern day cross country now really is about being reactive, isn't it? Cross country and as you say, riding those lips and bumps and turns exactly how the horses react, and being quick all the time to go with it.
Yeah, and around this course it's the same pattern everywhere. You can't kind of fall asleep for half a second or think, oh, I'm having a nice a nice ride, because it's all fast and furious and everything's coming up, and you've really got to stay very focused the whole way round, and it's going to be a challenging day tomorrow.
Well, let's just have a quick look at this line here, Kitty, that you're going to land, and you're going to land about here, and you say it's a 3-stride, but you've got to be reactive, you've got to be ready for the short 4 or whatever he throws at you.
Exactly, and unfortunately with Froggy, although I've known him for so long and we have got a great partnership, but he's a horse that you never quite know what he's going to do. Like at Badminton into the lake last year, every horse jumped and landed on the dry land, and he launched himself straight into the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
So he could shuffle off that bank, or he could take a massive jump off it, because he likes to keep you on your toes and keep you busy. So I've just got to be sat here and be reactive and keep the support, so he's got a lifeline, and keep the balance really.
Well, we hope it all plays out for you come cross country day. It's going to be really exciting. I'm so looking forward to the course running in the opposite direction. It's got a completely different feel, Luhmühlen, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I'm quite lucky actually, because I came in 2018 with Sailor LAN, and it went this way round, so I've been both ways, so I've got a little bit of a feel for it. I don't feel quite so lost as the first time I came here, because there were so many twists, turns, in and out the woods, so I didn't have a clue where I was going. But this year I feel a little bit more maybe at home, which is great.
Well, thumbs up, best of luck, and we're keeping our fingers crossed for you.
Thanks very much.
Fingers crossed indeed. Great job there, Kitty King. Of course, as I said, she's in 3rd place on Vendredi Biat, so she'll be hoping for a really good ride in tomorrow's cross country. And Spencer did a sterling job as always. Well, that was the mess for tight. Let's hear now what Chris Bartle, the British head coach, thinks of the final water complex.
Here we are at the Longines Water. We've come up from the main arena complex, and so we're at about 8 minutes. And as we come to here, fence 24, there's a potential that the horses could be a bit tired at this point in time. And we often find just going past the stables here, they can sometimes look back over their shoulders. So they really need to have lots of motivation, positivity from the rider, a good preparation. And then as we jump over the first element here, which is a nice shape fence, it encourages a good jump, but bearing in mind that the horses are going to see the water as they take off, and the riders will just have to be focused on a good landing position and keeping their eye on the ball, as I always say. And so that as we approach the element in the water, the B element, my advice is to the riders that they've got to jump the elbow of B whilst looking through the flags of C. So to my mind, the distance is less important than the line and the impulsion and the positivity with which you ride it, and keeping your eye on something behind the fence, which happens to be a lovely Longines sign. So that's the way I would recommend that you see it as a rider, and then you'll give the horses real confidence going through it.
Well, that is the look at the cross country. Remember, there are two competitions running here. We've got the 4-star, which is the German National Championships, and that's why you might have seen some riders diverting off under the Kitty and Spencer thing. They were going to look at the 4-star course. That is in blue, and then you've got the red course, which is the 5-star course. So that's the cross country. Now let's rewind. I've got Spencer here, our commentator, who you just saw. Spencer, can we just talk about the dressage a bit? First of all, Laura, she was quite self-effacing, as she always is, I guess, about her test, but it was absolutely spectacular to lead that 5-star competition, wasn't it?
It was, and to go in there, I think I've spoken to Laura a number of times about her dressage tests and about London. He's such a cool customer. There are never any guarantees with horses, as we know, but he is a pretty solid horse in that phase, and she can afford to go in there. She can afford to be brave, and there is that fine line. I always talk about the fine line between expression and explosion, but he seems to have such a good head on him, and she has such a good head on those shoulders as well. And to ride the test that she rode in Tokyo, to ride the test that she rode at Badminton, to miss this year's Badminton, I think was probably a blessing in disguise.
Well, she said that actually in the interview.
Yeah, and you know, she's now got this. She's got the Europeans coming up and Paris. I mean, who knows with horses, but it was just beautiful to watch.
And just quickly before we move on, what astounds me about Laura, and we've got so many riders in this country who are so talented, but to go and train race horses in the morning, like, you know, there was a thing in Horse and Hound the other day, wasn't it, where she is at 7:30 jumping 3-year-old young race horses, and then to go and ride a test like that.
Yeah, she's phenomenal, and she bounces back every single time. And I'm not saying riding those racehorses isn't without its problems either, because she does hit the deck, as we all do. But Laura is as tough as they come. She's built. If you, I'm not going to say it, but if you took her clothes off, she is like steel. She's like a piece of steel. I know. She's absolutely solid. She really is, and as fit as a flea. And these horses just perform so beautifully underneath her. I mean, she looks like she trains with Carl, as I know that a few do, and she doesn't look like she's doing anything. You know, it just is poetry in motion, and he's such a beautiful moving horse. The holts are always square, as you see. You know, he's so obedient, he's so amenable, and they just look like they're having a fabulous time out there, which is what it's all about.
The time, I think, could end up being quite influential tomorrow. She's got a couple of penalties in hand, and obviously it's early days, it's only the dressage and etc., but she needs to get that time. You've walked the course. How influential do you think that would be?
I think it's going to be very influential. It's always a tough time to get here in Luhmühlen. It's the twists, it's the turns, and so easily on those roundabouts, we call them, and in the trees, you can lose valuable seconds, and they're very, very hard to make up around this track. So it'll be really interesting, and she'll get a good idea, because she's quite late to go in the field. She'll get a good idea of just how it's riding, where she'll need to pick up some time if she can. He's a big striding horse, but I don't know whether the twists and turns. He's jumped round some really twisty tracks, and I think he'll be all right. But Laura's going to need to keep her foot down and keep those brave pants on.
Everyone needs brave pants for
They
the
do,
5-star.
yeah.
Okay, so that's the 5-star leader after the dressage. Now, we have with us the 4-star leader after the dressage, Molly Summerland, who, of course, you've already won the 5-star a few years ago. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But before we do, there is an item that we do every night here on Luhmühlen Lace, and it is called the Ride of the Day, where the commentator chooses the Ride of the Day. Spencer, I'm just going to, you stay there, I'm going to pass you the prizes, because
Molly doesn't know about this.
Molly doesn't know about this, but Molly, you are the Luhmühlen Lace Ride of the Day, or Rider of the Day.
Congratulations, Molly. I just thought your test with Charlie. We'll put this down.
Well,
A nice bottle.
We just got to say we've got a beautiful bottle of champagne and some amazing alpaca socks, courtesy of Barry. And if they don't fit you, you can have a different colour or a different size.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. No, I didn't know anything about that, so that's great.
No, we kept that a secret. Well done. No, we just thought. I've been commentating on the dressage all day. David Dole came in with me in the afternoon. But your test on Charlie, as it was when you won in 2021.
Yeah.
God, it's such a long time ago. You were 23 then. It was just beautiful. I mean, Carl has always said, he trains you as well. Carl has always said he could be a dressage horse.
Yeah, definitely. I think if he had his time again, he could have gone and done that. He's just the most exceptional horse to go in and ride in that arena, and you can just really enjoy this first phase with him.
And just talk us through your test, because it was poetry in motion from start to finish, and he just is such a lovely horse to watch, isn't he? Do you feel that you can just go in there and be yourselves?
Definitely he feels at home in this arena, which always helps, and it was nice that I could leave him quite fresh, so that he definitely found it easier to ride, and be so expressive in that arena. And he just gives you the most amazing feeling when you're going in there and just being able to ride every movement. And yeah, I really enjoyed it today.
I mean, look at that trot. It is just beautiful. Training him at home, I mean, I've seen you do some passage steps on him. He is quite the freak on the flat, isn't he? I mean, he's just remarkable.
Yeah, and he's actually got so much more to give in this phase still, which it sounds crazy to say at this stage, but he really does. He's getting stronger and stronger all the time. And I went in there today and I probably never put that much power into a test, but I felt at this stage that I wanted to have a play with it, and I'm still learning with him. And whilst I've still got him, I want to use these opportunities for me to go in and have an experience riding with a bit more power like that.
Well, you certainly did that today.
I was just going to come in because I've never seen him in the flesh before, and I was so shocked. And I actually said to Wendy, who's working on the show, I said, how does that horse then go and do cross country? I mean, he looks like he's a pure dressage horse, doesn't he? He just simply does.
He's exceptional. He's a complete freak of nature, and we've got a 5-year-old stallion at home that's out of his full sister, so that's why we wanted to keep him as a stallion, because really there aren't really many event horses like Charlie out there, and people just call him a freak of nature, just the way that he can go in there and trot like that, and then he's gallops out on the cross country. I don't think there's many out there like him.
So he must have a good temperament.
He's fantastic, and I've had him 9 years now, so he's really part of our family, and we know each other inside out. And it's been a long partnership, but a very special one as well.
Well, you say a long partnership, Molly, and when you won in 2021, I was a blubbering mess. I'm not going to lie. There were tears rolling down my face. I couldn't have been more thrilled for anybody, and I know how hard you work. But there's some really sad news on the horizon.
Well, it comes with the sport, doesn't it? I think most event riders can relate at some point in their career, having been in a position where they maybe own a horse themselves, and I do own Charlie myself, so it's probably, as everyone keeps telling me, the sensible decision to think about putting him on the market. I mean, I think I would love to see him go to Paris with somebody. I think he really is an Olympic horse, and he deserves a chance to go on the world's biggest stage, and I would love to see him go to a rider and have that opportunity. But equally, he would make a fantastic junior young rider horse and go and win medals at that level as well. And what is there left for him to win really with me that he hasn't already won? He owes me nothing, and there's horses for courses, and I don't really feel that the Badmintons and the Burleys are what he enjoys, but there's so much more that he can go out there and do, and he's just been an exceptional horse. And I wanted to come here and enjoy this show with him, not knowing really how many we would have left with that Paris deadline coming closer all the time.
Did that make it harder? Sorry, Spencer.
No,
did that make it harder for you going in? Because you would have obviously had that presumably in your mind when you rode down the centre line, maybe.
For sure, that has been on my mind a lot this season, and I think initially at the start I found that really hard emotionally, but I have, got more and more used to the idea of it as the months have gone on, and he's still in my stables at home at the minute, so he's not sold yet, and that's how I have to look at it at the minute. But I definitely don't take anything for granted when I go to these shows with him now. I don't know how many we'll have left. I know that people will obviously need to try and qualify for Paris if he was to be sold to someone aiming for the Olympics. So I just really enjoyed it in there today.
But presumably you'd like an owner to buy him for you to keep riding, presumably, wouldn't you? Anyone watching wants to buy Charlie so you can keep riding him?
Of course you would love that, but I have to be realistic that he is he could be a serious contender for somebody at Paris, and I know that with the position that I'm in financially, I'm having to rent the stables where I am at the minute with Julia Norman, and I love being there, and I just have to be realistic and try and be grown up and make a sensible decision, as much, and it's going to absolutely break my heart. I don't think there's many event riders that could say that at some point during their career they haven't had to make that difficult decision, and I think it's just the right time. We had this opportunity almost before the Tokyo Olympics, and I couldn't go through with it, and I don't regret that for one second, because we came here to Luhmühlen and he's done so much for me, and I've learnt so much with him. But you can't
always maybe hang on to them forever in this situation, and maybe later on in the lines when I've got myself a bit more set up, I wouldn't have to make this difficult decision. And I'd just love to see him go somewhere lovely, and yeah, I'd love to see him go to Paris. I think he deserves that opportunity.
What amazing words. I mean, it really does bring back to the sport just how difficult it is, but anyway, amazingly humble you are. I know it's difficult and I know it will break your heart, but to come to that decision and think about your future, you know, and to think what Charlie's done for you is incredible, is amazing. He's put you on the map. He's given you the 5-star win. He's given you opportunities, and he hopefully now will leave a legacy behind that you can then go and do more. So, I mean, well done. I'm not going to get emotional.
He's changed your life.
He has.
How much did winning Luhmühlen change your life?
It really did, and I said that. They were the words that I used in my interview when I won, that, you know, this horse has changed my life, and he really has. And, you know, hopefully I have a long career in this sport, but everything I ever go on to achieve will be thanks to Charlie and how he set me up in this sport. I have a lot to thank him for.
Well done, and we wish you all the best. You're leading the 4-star. I've now lost the scores. You can tell me, what was your score? 20?
I think it was 24.8, maybe. That was 24 point something, definitely.
Oh man, this is just bad timing. Anyway, you're leading the 4-star.
Let's talk amongst ourselves.
And you've got, I'm not going to. Well, I don't know if I'm going to find
it is amazing. Well done. Lizzie will find it, but it's incredible. How are you going to feel going out onto the cross country, knowing this in the back of it? Are you going out there just to have a nice time? Are you going out there to win it? What's your plan?
I really didn't come here being like, I want to win it. And I think when you don't know how many competitions you've got left with the horse, you really have that mindset of, let's just go out there and have fun. And I'm really excited to actually ride tomorrow. And I think it's nice that we're in the 4-star and not the 5-star. I will definitely not miss the feeling of those nerves as everyone sets off for the 5-star tomorrow. But yeah, it's still a course that needs jumping for sure. And there's, you know, questions everywhere and it needs respect. But I think hopefully we'll just go out there and really enjoy ourselves tomorrow. Well
done, Molly, and congratulations on winning the ride of the day, because it certainly was. I know we had some amazing tests, but for me, watching him go in there and you go in there was just incredible. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I failed on the score front, but I can remember that you're 20, I think it's like 23, and you were ahead of Julia Krajewski and Ingrid Klimke. I mean, you've beaten those two again. So, I mean, it's a win already, isn't it?
I mean, they're such idols for me. They are so beautiful on the flat, but I know that they're both on young horses, but they're really exciting coming through in their string. And yeah, I definitely look up to those two riders so much. So yeah, it's a nice position to be in for now. Good luck.
Right, we're going to completely change direction now, a complete tangent here, because every day on Luhmühlen Lates we have a dog of the day. It's sponsored by Pets Daily, and this is who they chose today.
Hi, my name is Victoria from Pets Daily, and today we have another dog of the day, and today it's Josie. Yes, she's 3 years and is an Australian Shepherd. Very sweet, as you can see. She does a lot of tricks and she's very cuddly. As you can see, she's very, very lovely. And for that, we have another gift bag.
Oh.
Especially for her.
Oh.
Woohoo! This is for you and for Jolie. I hope you're happy with all the surprises in that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And have a lovely day.
Thank you.
That's so cool. We weren't quite sure when we were coming back then. That dog had the most extraordinary eyes. So that was our dog of the day on Luhmühlen Lates. And now to another little strand of ours, it's Luhmühlen Legends. Now, everywhere you turn here, you're sort of bumping into people that have won this competition multiple times. We spoke to Andreas de Boschi yesterday, Pippa Funnell yesterday. Lots of people who are hanging around here have won this competition multiple times. Today, actually, it's not someone that's won the competition, but he did come very close. But he did also design the course here at Luhmühlen. It is Captain Mark Phillips, and I caught up with him a little earlier. Mark, you are a Luhmühlen legend. I know that you didn't win it, having gone through the book. I assumed you would have done, but you came close a few times here.
Yeah, I mean, I was placed a few times and rode in the Europeans here, and yeah, I had many happy memories of Luhmühlen, but not a winning one. Yeah.
And having been a Luhmühlen riding legend, you then obviously became the Luhmühlen designing legend. I mean, how many years? Can you remember how many years did you do the course?
Honestly, I think it was about 10, but it was. I did the first 5-star here and sort of started that ball rolling, and but since then we've seen a lot of developments here with the showground and and then, well, we used to call it the Jeep field when that was added, and but now it's growing even more. Got a new field this year, so which has really helped improve the flow of the course, and I think that'll make the 5-star experience much better for the horses and riders this time.
The sport has changed so much since you were riding all those years ago, and obviously in the time that you've been designing, and you're brilliantly outspoken about what you think. And we, as someone who follows the sport, I love that. Where do you think it is now? How are you feeling about eventing at the moment?
I'm actually quite worried about the future. I think we'll discover probably later this month whether we'll still be in the Olympic Games after Paris. And horse welfare is such a topic at the moment, and the whole ethics of riding horses. The public opinion it isn't 100% on the side of the sport and the side of riders. A lot of people think that that use of the horse is abuse of the horse, and that people shouldn't be riding horses for medals or prize money or racing as well. So I think the whole future of equestrian sports is coming up to a bit of a crossroads.
You're obviously very influential, but if you were in charge of the sport now, what would you do?
The first thing I do is ban the use of the whip, other than anything else than just a tap on the shoulder. I think any other use of the whip needs to be categorised as abuse of the horse, because the whip has to be an instrument of safety, not an instrument of admonishment or an instrument of speed.
And it's interesting, because I think back to myself as a child in Pony Club a long, long time ago, when that's what you did. You were taught to use the whip. You weren't taught if they refused. It always had to be facing the fence, but still there was commonplace to use it now. And now I hardly ever. Well, I only ever just tickle them with it. But the whole world.
You're obviously politically correct.
But the world has changed so much, hasn't it?
It has.
The world has changed so much, and there's someone who's lived through all of that. That must be quite difficult for you.
But there's so much change. I remember doing the steeplechase around here, and now we are, in the VIP tent in the middle of the steeplechase course, which obviously is no more. So there's been so much change with the loss of the steeplechase and now the short format. And we all thought when the short format started that horses would be able to do more. Well, that's not true. Actually, horses are now doing less because of the intensity of the short format. Whether it's short, the short or long, it's still much more intense. In course design terms, we used to do like 185 metres for every jumping effort. Now we're down 135, 140 metres for every jumping effort, which means you have to go faster between the fences, because it's difficult to jump the fences much faster today than you did 50 years ago. And that intensity actually, it's not a good thing.
Are you kind of pleased that you were at doing the big shows when you were doing them, and now, although you're still working, you're not having to have that pressure of the 5 stars?
I'm 75 later this year, and I'm actually trying to do less. But I think I was lucky enough to design in the good old days when we always tried to do something different, create a fence that never been jumped before, but now there's so much emphasis on safety that as a designer it's really difficult to do anything different, anything new. It's all a variation on a theme. So in that respect, a lot of the fun has gone out of designing, and there's now so much pressure on the designers, particularly at the 5-star level, not to have an accident, not to have a serious incident, because 50 years ago, we had a horse on the floor. People didn't seem to really mind about it, but now if people see a horse on the floor, they really mind about it, and public opinion is very much against that. And so we do so much now to help the horse understand the question, to read the question, to help the horse get its legs out of the way of the fences, in terms of the decoration is not for the public. It's where you put the decoration is for the benefit of the horse, to help keep its legs off the fence. And in that way, the sport has changed dramatically.
Tell me about Zara. How involved are you in what she's getting on? And I'd imagine as a dad, watching her when she won the Worlds and the Europeans, I mean, was that more precious to you than maybe your own successes?
Well, I mean, I think I've been lucky with Zara. When she's doing dressage, but more so show jumping, I get really nervous. But cross country, she's always had really good instincts and reactions, and so you don't often see her make a bad move across the country. So, horses, they don't want to hit the fences, and so if the riders are half making a good job, they're going to jump the fences. And so I never really get nervous when she's riding. Obviously glad to see her finish with a clear round, but she doesn't actually make me nervous crossing the country.
But watching her win, well, let's go back. So she was a European champion first, then she was a world champion. So when she was a European champion that time, was it a Blenheim? I can't remember where she did it. But anyway, what was that like for you as her dad? Having had all your own success, how special was it for you to watch her do that?
Well, obviously her mother won the European Championship as well. I never did. I won team medals, but never individual. And and then she went on to the Worlds. And
that was incredible.
Yeah, and then she later won the silver medal in London at the Olympic Games. And so she's had a remarkable career like that. But she is, above all, a very good competitor. She had to learn to be a good competitor. It wasn't natural, because I remember she came out of the arena here saying, I can't show jump, because she'd had a show jump gone from first to third or whatever here. And I said, Sarah, you never have a rail down at home, so you've got to learn to ride when you need to win, clear round to win, like you do at home. And funnily enough, Luhmühlen, that was the turning point, because she then 6 months later won the Europeans and 18 months later won the Worlds, having had the rail down here.
So neither of you managed to win at Luhmühlen, but it's been very special to you, hasn't it, and very, very precious.
Luhmühlen is, that's why I sort of, actually I enjoy coming back, because I sort of, having started the 5-star here, I feel sort of partly responsible for it in a way. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. And he really is a legend. Thank you, Mark Phillips, for taking up some of your time for us here on Luhmühlen Lates. But that's it for day 2 and this edition of Luhmühlen Lates. Of course, tomorrow it is cross country day. What's going to happen out there on that amazing course? The 5-star starts at 9:15 local time. The 4-star is at 12:55 also local time, and you can watch it exclusively on Horse and Country TV. We have German and English commentary for you. Spencer Sturmey on the English commentary and Dirk on the German commentary. So as I say, 9:15 the 5-star starts. So that's it from me and the team here on Luhmühlen Lates. We have another edition for you tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. local time. We have Peter Thompson, we have Mary King lined up, and many, many more big names for you here on Luhmühlen Lates. But from all of us for tonight, it's goodbye.